This is going to be very inconvenient with the glare. That's cool. Um, Hello. It's 2 a.m. It's going to be the most serious thing I've ever recorded. Not really serious, but like just, I guess technically that's still accurate. I don't know. And this is purely just going to be about game design and stuff. The main thing that was in my head as I was trying to fall asleep was just the frustration of it all. Like, the desire to get better and like hit that next level of just being skilled enough to be a fully fledged game designer and all that. Because I'm very much a jack of all trades. Like, I have skills in the modeling, texturing, rigging, animating, but I feel like I haven't mastered any of it. And the most recent example of like what I've been working on is like the Sylvan main character, and I'm like afraid to mess with it anymore again because I don't know where to go with it now. And I'm like, I think I have to restart again, it feels like, because there's so much wrong with it that I keep looking at. And not only just because like it's not just a opinion, I hate it. It's because like the model is incredibly unoptimized. I I created a render for it and it just does not look good because the wireframe or like the mesh of it, you can see all of the problems with it. And as someone that's going to judge it and like see this as my portfolio, they're going to be like, oh, that's not what we're looking for. We need something better. So I know even if it's not now, eventually I have to go back and make it better. Um, and it's just like, I think of that and I'm like, I spent the entire semester working on this guy and it's still not done. And I have to go back and do more to it. And it's just a long, painful process for one character. I haven't made more than one character. And I've spent a year on this one character. Not even the controls, the modeling, rigging, and animating. That small portion has been taking so long. And I want to skip it, but I can't because I just can't imagine making a game and having placeholders for all of the characters, even the main character itself. Like, I can't envision that. It just breaks the immersion. Like, I don't. How are you supposed to make a game by yourself? You can't. You shouldn't. But there's no one, even in my college, like, everyone has their own ideas. And it's hard to get people to join you because everyone has their own ideas, like I said. I have my own as well. And the few people you do get, like, they still have their own lives. They're not going to devote their entire life to what you have, unless they're getting paid for it, of course, or something like that. But that's not something I'm capable of doing right now. Um, and it's led me to wonder what I should do because I definitely don't want to stop working on this project. Like, at worst, I'll be putting it on the back burner and focusing on other different projects. But there's so much from this project that I want to learn from it that it's hard to just make a separate game out of. Like, I'm very close to making, like, learning how to do lip syncing for my character, but that's still feels like it's so far away. And there's just so many things I want to learn, but it's like, I want to also fix what I have now. And it's just, there's so much. It's kind of overbearing, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. I want to get my thoughts out now because I have confidence in myself in the future. Like, I figure eventually I will break past these issues and like troubles and experiences I'm dealing with. But I don't want to forget right now either because I want to know that this is what I'm going through. These are my doubts, my like hesitations, my feelings about the situation right now. Because even I do this where like I look at someone, I go, man, I like they're so good at this thing. I wish I could do that. Like, man, they make it look so easy, but it's a process. It's a painful, long process that you got to get through. And that's what I'm going through right now, and I want to kind of document that, I guess. I'm not like sad or anything. I'm just very lost in thought. Want to get my ideas out of my head. I don't like bottling things up. That's something I've learned a lot. But it's just you can't make a game without characters. And that's the thing I've been struggling with the most recently, it feels like. I there's so many things. There's just so like particles is something I keep telling myself I'm going to learn, but I just have not gotten to it yet. Right now, I'm learning how to make websites and learning HTML coding slightly, and that's been a whole process I've been spending days on. It's just every new thing I learn, I get okay at, and I'm getting close to that point where I'm going to have to start revisiting everything I've learned now and probably picking and choosing what I want to really focus on. Um, because there's just not enough time for me to learn everything and master everything as much as I want to, as much as I desire that. That is kind of what I've been aiming for this entire time, I feel like, which is a completely unrealistic goal. But so was the Legend of Zelda map, so I figured, hey, it's possible, right? It's a thorny path, that's for sure. I just feel like a lot of what I've made so far is like just not quite there, you know? Like there's a lot of promising stuff in it, but it's just missing a lot of stuff. Like, not to be redundant, but with my items, the Vine Grapple and Gem Shield, they work, sort of. They just don't feel good to use quite yet. And I don't know what steps I need to take to get that point. I feel like particles and like other just small things is probably what I need, but there's also the big parts of it that I feel like I still need to refine first. Animations would be probably one of those bigger things, or even just controls. Like, I don't know, there's just so many ideas, and I feel like I have to like hold back on those just because there's more important things like characters. Once again, going back to characters, it's just I can't imagine a game without characters. I don't want to use the mannequin for every single character, even if like visually, I guess it doesn't matter because that's not what I'm aiming for. Modeling and visualization, that's something I do want to not worry about. I don't want to be a master at that necessarily, but I feel like I have to have something that looks fully presentable. It's just hard to make mechanics that feel good or a player controller that works well without it visually looking good too. Because it's like I want to show off all of this, like I want to show off the world, I want to show off everything, but if I can't make a main character at least, there's always going to be that unfinished looking thing. No matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, there's going to be that character there that's unfinished. If I had to pick, like right now, put myself on the spot. If I had to pick what things I want to excel at are 100% coding. That's the big one. That's the thing that I started off to begin with. That's the thing I wanted to do right from the get-go. And it feels like everything else comes secondary. Maybe level design, but I feel like I don't know enough about level design. I can make a block out. Yeah, here's another tangent. Freaking level blocking. I don't know how to take the next step with that either. I can make a block out of a world just fine, but to refine it, to make it look really good, I don't know how to take that next step because it's in blockout form. How do you convert that to the finalized product? Because I don't know whether, like, I'm conflicted between using landscapes, but you don't get quite that, like, crisp look. I guess something similar to, like, Skyward Sword. Um, or even just Sly Cooper, like, there's so many games that don't, like, use a landscape per se, or that they do, and they have these, like, cliffs and, like, object models, but they don't use a landscape. They use separated models and meshes, I feel like. I feel really limited by the landscape tool, I guess. But I feel like if I want to prevent from using the landscape tool, I have to be able to make different meshes to use to create a level that looks finalized. And I'm not that good at modeling, to be honest. And I guess that's where downloaded asset packs come in. But I don't know. I guess part of the goal initially with the project was to make everything my own, not use anything else, which I did a complete opposite 180 of that with the scary game I made. Pretty much all of that was downloaded stuff. Other than the coding, I pretty much just put it all together from other stuff that wasn't mine, basically, to make a game, which is impressive in of itself, but it's like the exact opposite of what I've been doing with the Trilight game in a way. Another thing that's bugging at me is that for my last semester, which is coming up after Christmas, we have a practicum class, which is basically like You have three practicums, 1, 2, and 3. First one is fine, no hesitation. Like you can get a couple hours in, get stuff that you can put on your portfolio. You're done. Practicum 2, it's a little more big. You have to get a lot more hours, stuff like that. Practicum 3, though, you have to have something that's basically finished and presentable. I don't know. Initially, my plan was to do like the first section of Forcing Twilight Out, but I don't know. I definitely don't think I can finish something like that in the span of a semester, especially on my own. And I don't expect to get much help, um, or at least not enough that would boost my productivity on it, I guess. So my big question there is like, what am I going to do? Because I'm going to have to figure out something. To be completely honest, if I were to completely finish my character itself, fully rigged, animated, voice lip syncing, that would be my Practicum 3 alone. And I'm not sure if I'm willing to spend another entire semester working on it, though, is the issue. I don't want to be stuck on one thing, but I also don't want to continue being a jack of all trades either, in a way. I want to focus on something I want to do. That's why it's frustrating, because it's like, it feels like Forcing Twilight Out is doomed to fail no matter what I do, which is an emotion and experience I have not had with my previous experiences, I guess. And I'm trying to figure out what I need to do, if there's a way to counteract that, if there's a way to change my outlook, route, vision. It just feels like it feels wrong to minimize the scope of it too, like make the game a lot smaller than I'm envisioning it to be, especially because I don't really know how I would go about that, because the story is so complex that if I, like, depending on how much I simplify, it doesn't really become a good game anymore at that point, is the idea that I'm kind of afraid of. Like, how do I make the game less but still impactful? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. From a game standpoint, what what is it? Because right now I don't really have like platforming. I don't have 3D platforming in that way. There's very minimal puzzle solving. Like, I have the basic ideas for how the vine grapple and gem shield work, but there's not really any actual puzzles using them, basically. Um, and the combat system isn't even like, it's little to non-existent right now. So there's really nothing in the game itself that qualifies it to be a game in my head. The closest thing I have is a small mini game at the beginning where you chop trees down. That's the only actual mini game I've made for it, which makes me wonder if I'm actually like, I've had so much confidence in myself to like make game mechanics and cool puzzle solving stuff, but I wonder if I've actually even done that to begin with. A little bit of a loss of confidence there, I guess, in a way, but I'll still bounce back and everything. It's just something I want to be aware of so that I can do better, essentially. The other thing too is like, in terms of a story for a game, I don't really know what I want to convey to people, because I like look inside myself and I'm like, what do I want people to feel when they play my games? You know, what kind of experience do I want to give them? And I don't really have any ideas, to be honest. My mind kind of draws blank. Um, my convictions, if you want to call it that, are purely just, I want to be sitting at a computer making something that after I finish working on it, it translates and works well. That's the joy I get out of game design. Um, but at the same time, like, I look at games like Twilight Princess and experience the emotions it gives off, and I'm like, I also want to make that, but I don't know how the two combine together for me to actually do something with it. I want to make an impactful game with a good story, but I don't think I have the skills yet to make something like that. And I don't really know where to start with that. I've always felt like I'm pretty bad at critiquing and like really learning and judging other people's stuff. Um, I can't really dissect things objectively, I guess, in a way, like figuring out like, oh, this is what makes this happen to make you feel this way. I just see it and I feel it, and I'm like, I can tell this is making me feel this emotion, so it's good. Like, I don't know the more in-depth reasons of why it works, which makes it hard to make something myself, I guess, in a way. Um, and I'm sure that's something you can practice and get better at and learn, but how to do that, I'm not sure. Or if the process of doing something like that to learn and get better is something I would enjoy, which is frustrating. That's about all I can come up with in my head right now. So I think I'll probably try to head back to bed. Um, if I do post this, thanks for listening. And yeah, see you in the next video.